So normally, and we're still going to do it, we would have our community moment. It says in your program that it's supposed to be Stacy Leonard. Like I mentioned, poor Stacy is just not feeling well today, could not make it, so we kind of had to scramble at the last minute. And sure enough, the person who stepped up and said that they were willing to take the reins was our very own Helen Stringer. You just heard from her. We would normally do 3 words and a warning label. She was like, I'm too rushed, I don't have time to do it. And I was like, do you mind if I do it? And she was like, oh, if you're nice. So I'm going to try to be nice. 3 words that I would use to describe Helen are passionate, intelligent, and I made this one up, Hepburn-esque. Thank you. If she had a warning label, I would say caution, constantly moving forward. Helen, why don't you come back up? Thank you.
Aw, thank you. I don't know about intelligent, but I like the Hepburn-esque. That was really nice. I don't know if it's true, but I'll take it. So I wrote this an hour ago, which I didn't really write it. I was like, I can throw together an outline of stuff and make this happen. Not too long ago, I was sorting through my own memorabilia, like keepsake box. And it's kind of a strange thing to do when you're post-religious, because at one point I was an evangelical Christian, and one of the things I found was my spiritual gifts inventory. Who's familiar with this? Remember that? You fill it out, and it's going to enlighten you on how basically, I don't know, to be a better Christian, how to better serve the church and all this. And it was a really big deal. Like, I had to take this inventory multiple times, which is smart because, you know, as people, we do tend to change, so maybe God's gifts change too as you get older and things like that. Some of these things that I always found to be, let's see, on that list. So if you're not familiar with the spiritual gifts inventory, you could probably take it online if you really are interested in God's gifts for you. Some of the things that they list are like knowledge, which is like faith, discernment, encouragement. One, I always, and I never in Doug much, but one was mercy. So I was like, what if you're the opposite? So if you rank low on mercy, what does that say about you? And the other one was apostleship, which I think they made sure a lot of women probably didn't get that one. So all that to say, that, so what's the secular, not secular equivalent, but, you know, in church world, we had all these like things that would help you live a better life. You know, one of those was figuring out your spiritual gifts so you could, you know, live that out. And there is something to be said with recognizing your gifts. But I would say, yeah, and there are exercises that you can do. It is actually very relevant to know your gifts, maybe not your spiritual gifts, but to know what you're good at. But another thing that can be really helpful is to know what's really important to you. So some of you may know my professional life. I work as a professional organizer, and I also do some life coaching or something like that with it. I always cringe at the life coaching thing. It still feels cheesy. But in essence, what we do is we help people get from point A to point B, or, you know, sometimes life's complicated, so helping to have accountability, determine what's most important to you, set some goals, and keep you accountable to that is really what that kind of is. So with that, one of the things that I see often are my clients just living day to day in life. And I see it with my friends too, and I get caught up in it as well, to where we're just living, we're not being necessarily intentional, things are just kind of happening haphazardly, and you just kind of roll with it, which is valuable in life because we can't plan everything and life is complicated. But one of the things that I find helpful in encouraging my clients also in what to keep when it comes to their stuff, what you surround yourself with, but is to figure out what's most important to you. So what do you value most? What makes you feel alive? You should have a general idea of what that is. And if you ask, you know, a random person, most people can give you those top 2 things, like what's most important to you? What makes you feel alive? What do you love to do? But if you go past 3, 4, and 5, you know, if I want you to give me 5, you might hesitate. You might struggle. And then if I ask you, well, what are you doing with those, you know, 5 things in your day-to-day life? Also, people might realize, oh, well, I can't, or there'll be lots of excuses and reasons why you're not living out those things that are most important to you or that make you feel alive. So I thought I'd share with you today 2 of those things that kind of get your mind turning and thinking about what are those things that are most important to you? What are they? So that those things can help inform how you live day to day. Because for myself, I don't know about for you, but now that I'm secular, I kind of assume this is it. So that puts a lot of pressure for myself to figure out, how do I make the most out of this one life? How do I make the most out of today? I'm not promised tomorrow. And so therefore, what's most important to me and helps me feel like I'm really living a really good intentional life. So these are fun. The first one that I encourage clients to do is to ask 3 people to tell you what they think your top 3 values or what their top 3 things are in their life. Now, this can be interesting. Maybe you shouldn't ask your spouse, but and you want to ask a varied age, maybe a work companion. A spouse really is actually good, or someone who's a life partner, someone you've been with a lot. But then ask someone who doesn't know you that well. And what this does, it helps you get a glimpse of what people are seeing you do and how you live. And you, might be surprised and be like, well, wait a minute. That's not what's most important to me. Or you'll be like, okay, I'm onto this, or this is, I'm actually maybe living out the things that are most important to me. I asked Larry real quick this morning. I was like, quick, give me 3 things. What do you think's most important to me? And of course, he was slightly scared because, if you answer this the wrong way, it could be rough, for a week or so. And the first thing out of his mouth, he said, food. And I was like, oh, well, that's probably pretty true. So, and then that's my number 1, but I really do love eating. And so therefore, I should probably incorporate more opportunities to eat out and eat good food. But ask those 3 people. From that, you're going to look at those. Just consider that. Let it be information to you. Don't judge them. Don't argue with them. Just say thank you. And let that kind of give you an idea of maybe what is most important to you, or maybe how you should maybe living out the things that are actually of value. Second one, what did you love to do? I always say as a 9-year-old, but in late elementary school. When we're younger, we have 2 things that are not happening yet. One, hormones, hopefully maybe aren't quite kicking in really hard like they do when you hit middle school. And then furthermore, you don't have as much of the society pressures. So you aren't starting to live up to all these shoulds and oughts that we start to get as we get older. Therefore, what I want to ask you is, what did you love doing in late elementary as a 9-year-old? What was your passion? What did you wake up excited to do? Because you can take that and then shape it into something as an adult. Now, I used to love gymnastics. Now, obviously, I'm not a gymnast, and I really sucked at it, to be quite frank, but I loved it. I would clear out the entire living room, and I would practice my handstand to a back bend, which was a front kick over, maybe. Well, I sucked at it. I never achieved it, but I tried really hard. I'm really good at trying hard at things. That's the one thing. I have tenacity, but it didn't really ever work out. But it really brought me a ton of joy. I was looking through, when I was doing my memorabilia box and I was looking through it, I found this 6th place ribbon. It's bright pink, it's really big. And yeah, 6th place, you laugh. Well, 6th place was also last place. So it was this little floor routine, and I remember my signature thing was I could do a back bend with no hands. I could probably try it right now. I'd probably throw out my back. Unfortunately, when I did it at that floor routine, my head hit the ground, so it didn't work out so well. Hence the 6th place. The thing is, I then asked myself, what was it about that I love doing so much? Well, for myself, I actually do like dance. Doesn't mean I'm good at that either, but I love it. There's something about body movement. So as an adult today, 2 things. I love group fitness. I do actually, I taught it for a while. I quit because I started this Oasis thing, which got a little carried away. So I had to stop teaching group fitness classes. But I love it. It's really fun, especially highly choreographed stuff. I know that adds, one of my values, things that are really important to me is my health, but also I just feel alive. Those moments of flow, I think is it Mihai Csikszentmihalyi or something like that? It talks about those moments where we feel alive and you're present, but you're fully engaged, where time doesn't exist. Finding more opportunities for that help you better deal with life stressors, which are all inevitable, and we all know that full well. So what did you love to do when you were 9? Another thing for myself was that I loved volunteering since I was a kid. I recall my parents trying to funnel that. I volunteered at this senior citizen, I think they also did the Meals on Wheels stuff, but we served them meals, and the older people would always pull me aside and be like, you look awfully nice to be, serving community service time, and I'd be like, no, I'm doing this because I want to, but I have an innate desire to help people, and so finding ways to do that. Right now, today, you are here because I asked myself, even as a secular person right now, what do I want to do with my life? What's going to be most important? Starting this was scary. It's still scary. So if you think that, this is like a big human experiment. It's working out beautifully and wonderfully, and I love it. But I venture to challenge you today, either by asking your friends what's most important to you, what was it when you were 9 that you loved doing, but live life intentionally to some degree. We have to have flexibility. It is going to change. But just do know that if you're like myself, we want to make the most of every day. Think about what's most important to you. Find ways to surround yourself with that. Find ways to engage your time, little opportunities to live those things out. And that's all I have for you today. Thanks.